friends, and welcome back to the Wardenburn Reads YouTube channel. I'm Emily, and here on my channel I love to talk about all sorts of cozy, wholesome, domestic fiction, romance, mystery, adventure type stories. And this video is going to be my January wrap-up video, but I'm going to be experimenting with something a little bit differently this month. Instead of just at the end of the month talking about all of the different books that I've read all in one lump, what I'm hoping to try to do is throughout the month, as I finish different books, to actually, as soon after I finish them as I can, sit down and film a little section for the video. So then the video will be a wrap up of a number of different clips. This is mainly inspired because I just finished a book and I have to sit down and talk about it. It is only January 8th today, I think, and I have a feeling this is going to be one of my top favorite books of 2026. I absolutely loved it. So we're going to give it a shot this month. We're going to see how it goes. Hopefully it works out. And if you enjoy this format, be sure to let me know. I feel like it will work a little bit better in that I'll be able to remember details of the books a little more. So we'll see. The book. Let's talk about this book. I just finished reading 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. And oh my goodness, I loved it. I loved it so much. It was like the perfect blend of like Jane Eyre and a Victoria Holt book, and it had all kinds of gothic type, moody, broody type feelings to it, which is wild because it's set in the springtime, but I feel like this would be the most perfect autumnal book to read. Oh, so good. It's the story of Linda Martin, who is an orphan, and she's working in a school in England when she finds this opportunity to go and be a governess in France at this, I don't know, country estate, I guess you would call it, for a little boy. His name is Philippe, I think is how you pronounce it. It's the Philppe. I think that's how it's spelled. And I can't remember now how old he is, maybe 9 or something, or maybe 11. I don't remember. But he's a young boy that she's going to stay with. His parents were killed in an accident at some point, and he is staying with his aunt and uncle at this country estate. And so she goes there, and she actually, I'm trying to think of how much of it is a spoiler and how much of it isn't. If you haven't read the book, I don't really think it's a spoiler because it's right at the very, very beginning of it. She is actually French, but then she has been living in England for the last like 6 or 8 years or something. So she can speak French very easily. But for whatever reason, she decides not to let her employers know that she can understand French. So she gets there and everything seems to be going fine. Everything's good. She's kind of got a weird feeling about it. Something seems a little bit off, but she's not sure what. And then some accidents start happening, and she's just concerned for the sake of her charge, and the story unfolds from there. It's got a little bit of mystery to it. It's got the romance to it, of course. It's got some Cinderella type feel to it, along with a number of Cinderella type references. It has a little bit of, like I said, like a Jane Eyre spice. It's got the whole governess story. It is amazing. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. Thus far, I have enjoyed the Mary Stewart books that I've read. I think I've read 3 now. I think I've read 3. I just finished Thorny Hold at the end of last year, and that one's pretty good. But I feel like this one did what none of those books have done, and in that it felt like a fully fleshed out story. It felt like it was long enough, it had enough descriptive bits, and like I'm telling you, the descriptions of like the mist and the fog, and there's a number of different scenes where it's like nighttime, and it's just it's so good. But then aside from that, the character development, I felt like they were actually talked about and fleshed out fully. frankly, if I had read Nine Coaches Waiting and then read the other Mary Stewart books that I've read, I would have been wildly disappointed because it's just so vastly superior. Like, it is genuinely so good. It very much reminded me of a Victoria Holt book. I've read a few different Victoria Holt books. And it's from the first person perspective, which I thoroughly enjoy. And just, yeah, the writing of it and everything, it really reminded me of Victoria Holt. So if you enjoy Mary Stewart and you haven't read a Victoria Holt book, highly recommend it. I've read a number of her books. I actually have a collection of, I think, about 13 hardback books that I purchased off of eBay a few years ago. And I've kind of slowly over time been working my way through those. So yeah, that is one of the first books I've read here this year. I have finished a couple other ones so far this year, but I'll wait. And any books that I don't feel like gushing about immediately, I will try and talk about in like kind of the end, the outro type, whatever blurb that I make. But yes, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely love this book. Highly recommend it. And I'm actually really looking forward to reading some more Mary Stewart because, whew, that book was delightful to read. I so enjoyed it. Anyway, I will be back for the next book. Hello friends and welcome back. I have another book. I have another book to talk about. I just finished reading The 13th Princess and now I can't remember the name of the author. Is it Diane Caller? I don't remember. I will have it on the screen. You'll see it. I just finished reading that today. I read that book so quickly. I think I started it yesterday and I just could not put it down. I absolutely loved it. This was a book that I heard about from Kate of Kate Howe. She mentioned it on one of her videos here in the last month or so. I don't remember which one. And I was very intrigued because she said it was a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale. And that's one of my all-time favorite fairy tales. I just absolutely love it. All the dancing and everything, and the princesses, and the man that has to come and save them who's not a prince. It's usually a soldier. It's one of my favorite fairy tales. So I've read a number of different fairy tale retelling versions of that story. And so I was really excited to hear about another one that I had never read before. So this one talks about Zita, who's actually the 13th princess of the 12 dances. There's 12 princesses, but she's the 13th princess. And her father was so disappointed when she was born that she was a girl and not a son and an heir, that he kind of banished her to be raised by the servants. And so it's not known that there's 13 princesses. There's only 12. And it's kind of talking, it's told from her point of view. And she finds out when she's like 7 or 8 that she's actually one of the princesses, which she had like no idea, because she's been raised as a servant, and she actually like serves in the kitchen. She helps the cook and stuff, and so she makes food and stuff for the princesses who are her sisters. And so she just has to learn all about that and about her birth and everything. And oh, it was so lovely. I'm trying to think about how to talk about it without kind of ruining the story. But it was one of the best fairy tale retellings I've ever read, and it was written so beautifully. I'm really interested in seeing if the author has other books, particularly other fairy tale retellings. I would be really interested in trying out some of her other writing. But yeah, it's got Zita, and then there's a stable boy that she makes friends with, and then they end up having to go on this adventure to save her sisters. And then the stable boy's older brother is, of course, the young soldier that has to come and save the princesses. And it was just a really fun and interesting retelling. It changed a few things from the traditional fairy tale, but it did it really well, and I really enjoyed it. It was such good reading, and it has really made me want to go off on a bit of a fairy tale retelling kick. I've downloaded a few books from the library onto my Kindle of different fairy tale retellings, and so we'll see if I get to them or not. But it really lived up to that whole fairy tale vibe. How many times am I going to say fairy tale in this little segment? Yeah, it was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it, and the characters were really interesting. The ending was really sweet, and just overall, I thought it was excellently done, excellently written. It's kind of like if you've ever read The Other Bennet Sister, which is, I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but it's about Mary from Pride and Prejudice. And when I read The Other Bennet Sister, it felt like it could have been written by Jane Austen. It felt like it fits seamlessly into the original Pride and Prejudice world. That's kind of how I feel about this book, is that it changed a few things, but it fits within the original fairy tale. Like, it stayed true to the overall feeling of the original fairy tale. So that's all I have for this book. I have been reading a few other books, and I'm thinking that what will happen is, it's already almost the end of January, which I can't hardly believe. Today is the 25th, or is today the 26th? Oh my goodness. I can't remember for sure whether it's the 25th or the 26th. I think it's the 26th because it's Monday, but I am hoping to be able to do a final segment at the end of this video that's going to wrap up any of the books that I didn't talk about individually throughout the video. So far there's only been 2 books I've talked about individually, so we'll see. There may only be these 2 that I talked about. I'm not sure. We'll kind of see where the next few days take us. But yes, highly, highly recommend The 13th Princess. Alrighty friends, we are now into the first week of February. It's actually February 7th today, so we're exactly a week into February, and it is past time to film the remainder of my January reading wrap-up. So, let's just dive right in. The first book that I finished in January was Christmas at Engalworth by Teah, Kemp, White. I think my phone auto-corrected that. I need to check and see. This was a really lovely, Regency romance. It was a little bit shorter, I think. Now that I say that, I don't actually know. It felt a little bit shorter. It was a really sweet holiday romance, and like I said, Regency, super wholesome, and just a really cozy way to kind of end out December and begin January. As I was going, for the 12 days of Christmas and stuff, that it was a really fun Christmas book to read in that last little period of Christmassy things. And I'll be honest, at this point, I don't completely remember much of the characters' names and things. We had a lot going on in January and a lot of sleep deprivation, so my memory is not exactly what it should be, but I remember very much enjoying it, and that it was just a really cozy, wholesome type of a book. So I do really recommend it, and I am actually curious to try and read some more of, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, if it's Teah, Kemp, White, right? I'm not sure. My phone auto-corrected it to Wait, and I don't think that's right. The next book that I read was, I'm pretty sure, a reread. I'm almost positive I've read this before, but it's probably been 20 years, I read 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith, and I read this one because, for a couple of reasons. One, my toddler had just recently, in December, we just let him watch 101 Dalmatians for the first time, the original classic cartoon, and he loved it. He has probably watched that movie 20 plus times at this point. He just absolutely loved it. There was one week where we had a sick week, and he watched it almost every single day, and it was just the cutest thing. He loved it so much. He'd be like, "Can I watch the dog movie again?" And I'm just like, "Yes, absolutely." It is such a cozy, a wholesome, sweet, lovely film, and I haven't seen it since I was a child. It was one of my all-time favorite childhood movies. I really enjoyed it, and so it was really fun to watch it for the first time in probably 10 years or more. It might have been 15 or more, and to just kind of get back into that story. And then it was really funny because right after that, Jen from Jen's Reading Life mentioned and was talking about 101 Dalmatians and what a great book it was. And then I think it came up that Kate from Howe was also talking about it. It was all these different things. And so I was in a little bit of a reading slump. I've kind of been in a little bit of a reading slump for the last bit. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read this book. I haven't read it in forever, and I would love to reread it. And oh my goodness, it was so enjoyable. It was so cozy. I read it in probably 2 or 3 days or less. Now that I think about it, I might have read it in one day. it was 1 or 2 days, because I just remember I was reading it like on my iPad, I think, because I got it from the library, from the Libby app. And so I was just reading it while the boys were like running around and playing and doing their stuff. And I just absolutely loved it. It's very different. It's very different and very similar to the movie, if that makes sense, that they changed a number of things, but the things that they changed weren't necessarily bad things to change. For example, there were actually 2 mother dogs in the book. There's Perdita and then Mrs., who is Mrs. Pongo. But in the movie they like combined it and just made it Perdita, which made sense for an hour-long movie. And they cut out like a whole little side story that had to do with Perdita and her babies and whatnot. Yeah, it was so funny. Like, there were a number of things that Greg talks about. I think it was like they were like the Dearlings or something. Like, they completely changed the names of the main couple, and in the movie. And in the book, it was like the Dearlings or something like that. I can't remember for sure. And it talks about how Mr. Dealing is like a whiz at math, and so he saved the government. So the government gave him no income tax for the rest of his life. And then it's like at the end, he'd saved the government again, and they gave him an income to go with the no income tax. Like, it was really funny. Like, there were little like quips like that in the book, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was lovely. I'm pretty sure, like I said, that I read it when I was a child, but it's been a very, very long time. So, highly recommend that if you just need a really cozy, wholesome, just fill you up with joy type of a book. It's just one of the most relaxing and fun reads I've read in a very long time. Then I read The 9 Coaches Waiting, which I've already filmed a snippet here that you will have already seen at this point. And then I finished reading Heaven to Betsy, which is the 5th book in the Betsy Tacy series by Maud Hart Lovelace. And this one is all about Betsy when she starts going to high school, and she and her family, they've moved houses, and it's just kind of that next phase of her life. I think she's about 14 in this book, and it's kind of her first crush that she has, and it was really lovely. I do feel like Tacy definitely took a much more backseat role in this book than she had in the first 3 books, and Tib was barely mentioned at all. She just kind of doesn't exist anymore, and I am curious to see if that's what's kind of gonna be. The series is about Betsy Ray, like it is, and I'm curious to see if the friendship aspect that I so loved and enjoyed in the first 4 books, if that's going to take more of a backseat in the remainder of the series or not. I have no idea. But yeah, it was just full of so many cozy moments of domestic life, and there's like a Christmassy bit in here, and they're talking about food all the time, and their Sunday tradition of eating. Mr. Ray makes sandwiches for everybody on Sunday evenings, and just hanging out with her friends, and just doing all sorts of like talking, and they go ice skating together, and Betsy's terrible at ice skating, and yeah, it was just a really delightful look at what being a teenager at this time period was, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very cozy. I've just started the beginning of the next book, but like I said, I've been in a bit of a reading slump, and so I haven't really picked it up. I've read a few other books instead, but we've also had some like family stuff going on, and so I haven't had a lot of brain space. I've got sleep deprivation, family stuff, like we've just had some stuff going on, and so I haven't picked up, because I'm trying to read these as physical books. I have the physical books, I'm trying to read the physical books, and physical books are just a little bit harder for me to read. So I've started the next one, still very much enjoying this series, and yeah, I love it. And actually, as a little side note, I'll see if I can pop a little video in here. Yesterday, when I was at Goodwill, or the day before, a couple days ago, I was at Goodwill, and there was this little brown trunk that was sitting there for $50, and I took a picture of it and sent it to my husband, and was like, I really, really want this trunk. Because it very much reminds me of Uncle Keith's trunk from, I'm sure it's like a smaller sort of a thing than the one that's supposed to be in the book, but it has a little tray like that you lift out, and it's kind of a small to medium or medium to small size trunk. And I had the kids with me, so I couldn't really get it. And so then yesterday my husband came with me and we went back and I went and got it. It was still there, and I don't really have a spot for it yet. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I have wanted a trunk of some kind for probably my entire life. My mom had one when we were growing up. There was a really big, heavy, like metal one. And so I am just so excited. I feel like it's my Betsy trunk now. I have no idea what I'm going to put in it. I still have to figure that out, but I'm so excited. So hopefully I've been able to put a little video in here, and it made me so happy because I immediately thought of Uncle Keith's trunk that Betsy was using for her writing desk. So that's a fun little extra snippet for you. And then, okay, I read The Runaway Bride by Essie Summers. And I'm trying to remember if I ended up filming an extra little snippet for that one. I don't think I did. I think I was planning to film a snippet for The Runaway Bride and South Island Stowaway by Essie Summers. Those were the two Essie Summers books that I read in January. And I don't think I ended up doing it. So, The Runaway Bride, Kirsty, she's about to get married, and then she finds something out about her fiance, and she ends up fleeing and running away. And just through a number of circumstances, she meets up with, I believe it's Simon, who he has to take care of I think it's his niece and nephews for a while because his sister got hurt and injured, and so he's taking care of the kids, but he needs somebody to help him watch the kids because he's working in a remote place in New Zealand. And so then they meet by happenstance, and she ends up volunteering to go and help watch the kids. And I am falling in love with Essie Summers and her writing and her books, and I have like 3 or 4 more logged on or ready to go on my Kindle. I'm so enjoying her books. So yeah, this one, it was great. There's lots of talk of like domestic, setting up this house in this fairly remote part of New Zealand. There's talking about the countryside and the place that they're staying at, and it was just delightful. It was so fun to read. The one quibble I had with it was that there is that whole, I think I would call it a trope, where there was kind of a miscommunication, misunderstanding, lie at the beginning that is kind of a thread throughout the whole book. And you're just like, if you just would have one conversation, you would clear this up. It would be fine. No big deal. Like, just have one conversation and clear it up. And then it, like, of course, at the end, Simon finds out that Kirsty has lied about something, and there's a whole blow up, and then I don't love that when that's a key point to a book. Lying is not good. And so it really frustrates me when there's like this whole contention that's built off of like this one lie that wasn't intentional. You know, Kirsty wasn't intentionally trying to lie to Simon. He assumed a few things, and she just didn't correct him because she thought he was a random stranger she's never going to see again. But then, of course, circumstances happen, so then she's living with him, and he's assuming she's this widow, and it was a whole thing. I still thoroughly enjoyed the book. It was great. I really highly recommend it. And then, since I've already mentioned it, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it quickly. South Island Stowaway. Oh, this book. I love it so much. It is a book that I want to get a physical copy of. It's about Julie. She's a little bit of an impetuous person, and she is trying to convince her brother to let her come and be his housekeeper on his farm. There's a sad set of circumstances. His fiance has recently passed away, and she just wants to go and help him and take care of him. And he's just like, no, you can't come to my farm. You've given too much to our family already, to our parents and stuff. You need to go and live your life, sort of a thing. And she's just like, no, I want to come and help you. Like, I want to come and take care of you. And he just won't let her. So then she determines that she's going to hide in his car and stow away in his car while he's driving back to the farm, because his farm is a ways away. I think they're in, I don't know now. I don't remember if it's like Sydney or something. It's one of those bigger cities, Sydney, Melbourne, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. But he needs to drive back to his farm. And so she knows that he has this like farm meeting that he's going to. And so she has his spare car key. And so she's planning to like get in his car and just hide in there until he's already home. And then she can be like, surprise! Now you can't kick me out and send me back. And of course, she gets into the wrong car. And she ends up on this farm with Adam and his family, and Adam's fiance like accidentally finds her in the back of the car, and then Adam's like, I have no idea why she's here, and his fiance is just like, yeah, right, like you've got this floozy that you're trying to sneak into the family farm thing, and it was really, really entertaining. But then of course, through circumstances, she has to stay at the farm for a while, and she just falls in love not only with Adam, but with his whole family and the place that they're living in. And like the descriptions where it was talking about like the rich history. It was one of the like whaling ports. I can't remember now if it was in New Zealand. It was on like an island. It was separate. And it's like this whaling port, and then Adam and his family, they have this whole like beautiful history and story going back to, I think it was like Camilla and, what was the captain's name? I can't remember, but that when they first came to the island and they got married and they built this house and they kept adding onto it as their family grew, and the beautiful gardens and just the parlor that they're in, and there's the portraits of these ancestors and stuff, and it had such a strong sense of like home and of place. And like Julie talks about it where she's like sitting there thinking about it, and she's only supposed to be there temporarily for a couple of days. The roads are blocked, so Adam can't take her back to the city, and she's just like, it has felt like coming home, and I'm going to have to leave it and never come back. And it just, oh, it was beautiful. It was so, so beautiful. Like almost the whole romance part of it was, it was almost a little bit of like a side bonus, if you will, just because the whole rest of it was just so beautiful. And I really, really enjoyed it. And again, it has made me love Essie Summers so much. Then I did read The 13th Princess by Diane Zahler, I'm not sure, but I think I already filmed a snippet for that. I read The House of 1,000 Candles by Meredith Nicholson. This was a book that was recommended to me by a friend of mine, and I have been trying to I started it, I think probably maybe in December, and then it's just kind of been slowly chipping away at it. I loved the writing of it. It just took me a little bit to get into the story because, again, like I've mentioned, sleep deprivation and whatnot. We've had a lot going on mentally, and so I was struggling to kind of focus in on the book. However, I did really, really enjoy just the writing style of it. And it's a story of John Glenham, and he receives word that his grandfather, who he's been estranged from, is dead, and he has inherited his grandfather's property, and one of the rules of the will is that he has to come back to this house that's in the, I don't know, backwoods of Indiana and in the United States, and he has to come there and he has to stay in the house for a full year without leaving it. Like he can go to like the nearby town or village or whatever, but he can't like travel elsewhere. Got interrupted. My husband needed me to go out to the shed and look at something for him. He's got the boys at a store so I can have some free time. So as I was saying, House of 1,000 Lanterns. So John comes and he's staying at the house, and there's some kind of mysterious things that are happening. He gets shot at one night, and there's some sort of a mystery surrounding the house. And his grandfather was rich, and he knew that, but for whatever reason, there doesn't seem to be any money anywhere. And the man that is the executor of the will, was it Pettigrew? I can't remember for sure, is John's like arch enemy. They went to school together, and this other guy was just so like pompous and what's the like goody two shoes type of a vibe, and would like kind of rub it in John's face sort of a thing. And he kind of did it again when John had to meet with him for this other guy to read him the will, the executor to read the will to him and stuff. And there's just some sort of a mystery surrounding the house that he has to figure out. And I'm not going to go too much into that, but I am going to have a little bit of a spoiler here for the next bit. So if you haven't read the book but you're interested, again, absolutely love the writing of it. It was just, I don't know, it flowed so nicely, and it was really easy to read it. I highly recommend it. It was enjoyable, and I do plan to try to add, what was it, Meredith Nicholson? Let me open this up and check. Meredith Nicholson. I do plan to try and see what other books she has written and try some of her other ones, because I liked her writing style so much. I'm going to have a little bit of a spoiler here, so if you don't want to hear that, I've got timestamps below, or I should have timestamps below, so just skip to the next book. There is a romance aspect to this book, of course, which I absolutely love having that added into a story. The main girl's name is Marion, and I did not like her. She really annoyed me, and I did not think that she was worthy of John, and I was honestly kind of bummed that they ended up getting together in the end. I was just like, she was kind of bratty and kept saying that, you know, John was not a gentleman for assuming something about her, and she pretended to be somebody else. Like, she didn't even tell him her real name. She pretended to be some other girl, and she at one point like lures him to leave his grandfather's house and break the premises of the will in order to come and see her. And it's like, in the end afterwards, he's just like, why? And she basically just goes, because I wanted you to. I wanted you to come. And I was like, how utterly selfish. How absolutely and unbelievably selfish. She knew what was required by the will. She knew. And she intentionally tried to lure John to leave his house, break his word to his grandfather, just to come and see her. And it just, I didn't like her. I didn't like her. I felt kind of bad because I liked like everything else about the book. Like, there's mystery and there's like, it just, I really enjoyed the book overall. I just so disliked her. And that bit where like he's talking to her at the end where he's like, you wanted me to come, like you lured me away. Why? And she just goes, because I wanted you to come. That's like right at the end of the book. And so it's like, you've gone through this whole thing. There's been all this stuff. John's like almost been killed a number of times. And like, there's this whole thing. And I was just like, you despicable creature. How dare you? Like, oh, I was so frustrated about that. And then it's like he marries her, and I didn't like it. It was icky. Because yeah, I didn't realize it until I was thinking about it afterwards. I was like, why don't I like her that much? And I was like, she was just so selfish and self-centered. And she was like, oh, so insulted because he assumed that she was working with the bad guys. But she never gave him any reason to think otherwise. Like, ever. She lied about her name, lied about who she was, and just the way that she treated him the whole time was so unladylike. And she kept calling him like not a gentleman. And just, I just did not like her. I did not like her at all. And it just was, ugh. Ugh. And it was talking about how she was like such a dignified lady, and he was so insulting to her to have assumed that she was working with the villain. And I was like, what other assumption would you have him make? Like, she's the one that is being incredibly suspicious and has given him no reason to trust her. What do you want? So, like I said, thoroughly enjoyed the book. It was really good. I would honestly have preferred that the romantic aspect wasn't there, but the rest of it was really good. I really liked the writing so much, and I am very interested in trying to read some of Meredith Nicholson's other books. So, we'll see if that happens. And then I reread The Writer of Lost Creek by Louis L'Amour, which is the first book in the Kilkenny series. There's 3 books in the series, and I have been wanting to read some more Louis L'Amour books, and I am dipping my toes back into reading a few more of those. I'm expecting to read at least 1 or 2 in February, and just kind of get some of those back in, because like I said, a little bit of a reading slump, and I just haven't felt motivated to read. Because obviously, like, as you can see, I've read a number of books in January. Like, I think I was discouraged because by halfway through the month I'd read like 4 books or something, and I was just like, oh man, like, I've hardly read anything. And then I read like a number of really good ones, like the Essie Summers books and the 13th Princess book, and it kind of pushed me to want to read a little bit more, and I still have just not been feeling super motivated or wanting to read, and so I'm adding in a few of my comfort books, comfort authors to, I don't know, just add that little bit of joy into reading. And I am hopeful that I can read a couple of romances and things in the month, to just continue to kind of get the reading desire back up. And so yes, I was a little bit of a tangent, but read The Writer of Lost Creek, and I am hoping to read a few more Lou the Moore books. I'm currently reading Utah Blaine, which is one of my favorites. I've read that one a number of times. I'm reading that one at the moment, and I have a couple other ones queued up on my Kindle, so we shall see. And then the last book that I have on here, I cannot remember for sure if this is the last book that I read in January. I need to double check on my Kindle and see if I finished any other ones. I don't think I did, but I can't remember for sure. I reread Ella Enchanted by Gail, Carson, Levine, and I have read this book, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times, but it has been probably 3 or 4 years since I reread it last. And my sister mentioned that she was planning to reread it, and I was like, oh, I would love to reread that. Reading The 13th Princess made me really want to read a few more fairy tale retelling books, and I have a few that I've read in the past that I want to reread, that I have thoroughly enjoyed. And so then my sister mentioned Ella Enchanted, and I was like, ah, yes, I remember loving this one. It is so good. If you've only seen the movie, I highly recommend you actually pick up the book and read it, because it is so vastly superior to the movie in every way. The movie kind of turns it into like a comedy, and it's all about the comedy, and there's like singing and dancing, and it's just, yeah, the book is so much better. It's so much better. It is such a cozy and lighthearted, and also it has like some depth to it, and the character development and stuff is so much better. There's a bit where there's some letters that are going back and forth, and that's really fun to read, and just the trials and things that Ella in the book has to overcome. It's just, yeah, I really, really like it. It's possibly my favorite Cinderella retelling that I've read. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't actually read that many Cinderella retellings, but it is definitely up there. I really, really enjoy it, and it was another one of those like cozy, lighthearted reads that was exactly what my brain needed. So I have a couple more fairy tale retellings again queued up on my Kindle. I have a lot of books that I want to read. But I am planning to reread a few of the fairy tale retellings by Jessica Day George. She's got a 12 Dancing Princesses and a Cinderella, and then I think there's like a Red Riding Hood or Snow White or something, but those were later in the series. And then I want to reread a book by Juliet Marillier? She has a like young adult retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses that I really want to reread. So again, we'll see. In February, I'm hoping for some romances, Essie Summers. I'm hoping for some cozy authors like Lou the Moore, possibly Patricia Wentworth, and I'm hoping for some fairy tale retellings. And just hopefully that will, yeah, kind of make me feel a little bit more like I want to read a bit more. But I have blabbered on for more than long enough. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I'd love to know if there were any books in January that you particularly enjoyed, or if you enjoy reading fairy tale retellings and you have like a favorite one. I would love to know. I know Amy from Hearth Ridge, I believe it was, put a video up talking about her favorite fairy tale retellings, and I'm planning to watch that. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm hoping to watch that at some point here and get some more suggestions. So there's that for you. I'll have that video linked down below if you want to check it out. But yeah, if you have a favorite fairy tale retelling, I'd love to hear it. The only one I would say is don't recommend The Daughter of the Forest, I think is what it's called, by Juliet Marillier. I've read that one. I really enjoyed it. There's one scene in it that was not necessary and it didn't add anything to the story, and is a very dark scene, and I have avoided rereading it because of that scene, which is really sad to me because it was one of my all-time favorite books, except for that scene. So, with that scene in it, it's like a 3-star or below. Without that scene, it would have been a 5+ star. Like, absolutely loved it. So, that's the only one. Don't recommend that. I know it's beautiful writing and it's a beautiful story, but I have read that one. I haven't read any of the rest of the books in the series because I'm just hesitant to, because they're supposed to be adult type stories, and if that's the type of adult content that's going to be in them, I don't really want to read them. So that's a whole tangent. I am hoping at some point this year to maybe make a video about my favorite fairy tale retellings, so I just want to reread a few of them and read a few more, but I would love to know if you have any favorites. That is all. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.